But then on the back end, you want to run around and do all that little, you know, that all that little street shit. And you can't do both. That was the thing that fucked hip hop shit. If it's entertainment is one thing. Street shit, that's a whole nother thing. And like I always say, that street shit gets you one thing, two things in particular. You go to jail or you get your ass killed. Now with all that street shit, like I said, I got very little respect for that shit because you doing shit against your own people. And you got intelligent motherfuckers that don't make the connection between how people treat us to how our people treat their own people. Everything that them niggas did, they did it to their own people. And that's why they don't need to be, they don't even need to be around. If you want to be that way around your own people, you don't even need to be around your own people. You need to be somewhere locked the fuck up so you can just play that bullshit amongst y'all. But just to bring that shit out on the street, because that's really jail shit anyway. They brought all that stop snitching shit, all that thug shit, they brought that shit out on the street to their own fucking people, and they turned all our streets into fucking war zones, and then niggas is getting killed, and then y'all say, oh yeah, so-and-so's a real one. He just fucked up his own block and killed his own motherfucking people. And that's the real one to you motherfuckers, and I have zero respect to any of that shit.
It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. All my children in the daytime, Dallas at night, can't even see the game or the Sugar Ray fight. The bill collectors, they ring my phone and scare my wife when I'm not home. Got a bum education, double-digit inflation, can't take the train to the job, there's a strike at the station. Neon King Kong standing on my back, can't stop to turn around. Broke my sacroiliac, a mid-range migraine, cancer membrane. Sometimes I think I'm going insane, I swear I might hijack a plane. Don't push me, calm, close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head.
Okay. So, you guys might want to record this. Make sure you're recording this or screen recording it or something so that you guys get it. I don't go live a lot. I haven't really been going live since, the pandemic, but this is something that came to my attention. It came to my attention that a DJ, and I'm not going to say any names because I don't think it's necessary. A DJ basically said that, a lot of the pioneers in hip hop are, they're dusty, or how can they be the person that, invented hip hop if, they don't have a lot of money. Or if they don't look or represent like they have a lot of dough, right? Let me explain something to you and say this for you guys. Don't confuse someone's ability to develop a business model. Don't conflate. In other words, don't think just because somebody knows how to get money or fails to get money that they didn't make a contribution to the culture. No one discusses Miles Davis's bank account. We don't talk about John Coltrane's bank account. We don't talk about a lot of even rock musicians, a lot of them. We don't talk about their bank accounts. A lot of great country artists, we don't talk about their bank accounts. This idea that you have to have money or else you don't have any value is a bad idea, and it's kind of like, it's a misinformed way of looking at the world and the culture. There are artists out here. First of all, let me say this. First of all, let's talk about like young artists, right? Who I love. I love the young artists. Let's be clear. I'm very much a guy who embraces the young artists. I believe in every generation. I believe in you. I care about you. Let me say this to you though. Today, you could come up with your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, your 20-year plan. You can go find a manager. You can find an accountant. You could find somebody that means something to you, to help you. You could find a team to help your career go to the next level. When hip hop first started, there were no managers. There were no accountants that believed in it. Record companies didn't even believe in it. Nobody believed in it. How can you make a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan on something that doesn't even exist yet, that people have never even heard of? So just because a couple of these guys and girls and people out here made songs and made music and made contributions to this culture, or even dancers danced and made these contributions to culture, just because they didn't get rich, just because they weren't able to pile up millions or billions of dollars, does not mean that they didn't make a contribution to this culture. That does not mean that they didn't do something. They created an industry that we all ate off of. They created an industry that you eat off of. When you go out there and you go monetize your brand, when you go monetize your brand, when you go get your whatever and do what you got to do to build your career, when you go out there and negotiate your deals and negotiate your checks and talk tough, guess what? That money, that bread, that food that you eating was created by those same people that you disrespecting. That industry was created by them same people that you call in, foul words, foul language. The people that you're referring to. So my thing is this. It's always good. It's always good to get money. It's always important. It's important. It's important to get money. I agree. I'm all about getting paper. I've been talking about it my whole career. But don't ever, ever, ever confuse being rich with making a contribution to our culture. Don't ever play yourself like that again. Because trust me, you playing yourself. Because without these dudes and these girls who started this hip hop culture, a lot of the guys that's out there talking tough, you wouldn't even have a career. We'd be on the corner with a beer talking about what's the next move we gonna make. So I would say approach this game with humility and be glad and be thankful that these pioneers, exactly, slave mentality. Be glad that these pioneers help create this culture. And let's show them love. Let's elevate them. Let's celebrate them. That's why I started Rock the Bells. That's why I started this movement. So I wouldn't have to listen to foolish rhetoric about people that changed the world. These people changed the entire world. The whole planet runs on hip hop culture right now. The whole planet. Every commercial, everything you could think of is all about hip hop. And there are people out there that started this thing, and I think that they deserve to be honored and respected. I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm not gonna say no names. I'm not gonna say nothing foul. I'm not gonna go at nobody's character. I'm just gonna say, think before you speak. Peace.
I know we're in Harlem. Where? Harlem. This is Harlem? Yeah, this is Harlem. What do you think this is?
I figured at this time that we spoke up about this, from the artist's point of view.
And we just feel that one of the primary duties of a rapper in this day and age is to become a positive role model in the minds and in the hearts of the children, because a lot of these kids don't have positive role models to look up to. In most neighborhoods, drug dealers are a role model. So, if we could continue to do projects like this, then we show them something to look forward to.
We're totally against black on black crime, I mean, it's so ridiculous in this day and time that our own brothers and sisters has got to pick up arms against one another. We're killing ourselves off, man. And this is a definite message to all the young people.
We strongly believe that, violence is nonsense, and you got to get together as one. And if you look around, you see a whole lot of different type of rappers here getting together to prove that everybody can get together.
That's the first time this has really happened. Because, a lot of these brothers won't even speak to each other. You understand? So the beauty of this is that regardless if we disagree on 99 things, we agree on one, that we need to come together.
We want to let the youth know that there are alternatives to crime in your community. There are alternatives to having disrespect for your brother and your sister. African Americans must come to the realization that if we do not help ourselves in this regard, we will be the greatest. We will bear the brunt of crime as it affects us.
I would have to say that there were several times during the recording of the record and the shooting of the video that I just didn't think it was gonna happen.
The camera's gonna be on a crane coming along this way, catching you all as each of you do the lyrics. So you gotta sit in the order that you kick the lyrics on the song, right? And then when it goes all the way to the end, to the last person, it's gonna come up.
This is going out to all the youth, you know what I'm saying? Which is, you know, a lot of people that look up to us. We are role models, you know what I'm saying? So we gotta do the right thing in front of them at all times. We gotta say the right things in front of them at all times. And we got to try to teach them to strive for perfection, because that is the right direction. And if anything is wrong, then we will make a correction. And how we do that? Because we have the detection. You know what I'm saying? And that's what time it is, so we'll add it to the collection.
It really ain't the rap audience that's bugging. It's one or two suckers, ignorant brothers, trying to rob and steal from one another. You get caught in the mid. So to crush that stereotype, here's what we did. We got ourselves together so that you could unite and fight for what's right. Not negative cause. The way we live is positive. We don't kill our relatives.
Pop, 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 when it's shot, who's to blame? Headline, front page, and raps the name. MC Delight here to state the bottom line. The black on black crime was way before our time.
Took a brother's life with a knife as his wife cried, cause he died of trifling death when he left his very last breath. Was I slept, so watch your step. Back in the 60s, our brothers and sisters were hanged. How could you gang bang? I never ever ran from the Ku Klux Klan, and I shouldn't have to run from a black man, cause that's
LA County when you're 12, 13 years old, and you build a bond. So when you're 20, like Chris Brown or somebody, and they say, I'm in a blood gang, you're not. You know, they'll come to the club with you, they'll party with you, but you ain't put in no work with them. Right. The bond is different.
Exactly.
The bond is different. Yeah. So I just worried about Pac. And when Pac first came, he was hanging out with the kids from Rated R and Macadocious, the first Thug Life kids. Them kids are Crips.
Right.
So then, you know, when he got with Suge, you know, now he's dealing with Bloods, right? Okay. So, you know, I would always just like get at him, you know, like, you know, but he was so hot.
Yeah.
He was so hot. And I told you a story. One night, Shock G, rest in peace, showed up at my door. So I'm living in Hollywood Hills. I get a knock on our door. I open the door, Shock G. I'm like, what the fuck you doing here, cuz? He like, man, I'm just up here in the hills. I asked if any black people lived up here. They said Ice-T. Wow. Knocked on my door. But he sat with me. He said, Ice, man, I wish you could talk to Pac, because Pac respects you. But everybody kind of knew Pac was pushing the line.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he crossed the line, getting involved in gang shit, you know, fighting over a chain. And to a gangbanger that's really gangbanging, it's like an insult to them. Like, it's like, you know, you're a rapper and you're stepping in our area. And, you know, like I tell people, I'm angry with Pac. Like that's my kid. Like, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say he was my kid, but he was like a youngster
like a
to
little
me.
brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember when Pac came over my house and he played Hit 'Em Up to me. And I was like, so I was watching, you know, the first line was, I fucked your bitch. I was like, So I've always, you know, and when I say this kind of stuff, you know, the Pac stands, they're like, you're supposed to be riding with Pac no matter what. Yeah. But I'm like, nah, my job as an OG is to give him a little guidance.
Exactly.
You know, and I believe that, and you won't just hear me say that. You'll hear a lot of West Coasters say the same thing, that, you know, anyone that, I'll tell it to anybody, if you're not from LA, don't fuck with the gangs. If you come to LA and you decide, oh, I'm just gonna move into Hollywood Hills, and you meet some Crips, or you meet some Bloods, or you meet some Pyrus, or you meet some MS-13s, it's not the best idea to become friends and hang out with them or jump into that gang.
Exactly.
You know, it's just not the best idea.
I'm King News, and I come to you with the truth. The mean streets took 6 more lives overnight, all the result of gang-bang stupidity. By the way, you gangsters should know, one of your victims was a 3-year-old girl. Local gang members, you still don't get it, do you?
It's Straight up bandits everywhere I look. Used to be a straight A student, now he's a crook, robbing people just to smoke and shoot up. Used to have a crew cut, now he's a poop butt. Dropped out of school and he joins the neighborhood gang. Hanging on the street selling cane to his own people. Now when I say people, I mean color. You a stupid motherfucker.
Sisters, since we are the mothers of this earth, it's time we start being good mothers from the birth of our children. No time for sleeping, teach them to fight and win for the right reason. It's your time, it's your life, live it. Proud to be black, young and gifted, lifted by the knowledge and taking the right route. Gang violence needs to be wiped out.
One and the same, everyone came in the same chains, caught with the same aim, brain games and names changed. To destroy the black male, crack jail, and semi-automatic static if the crack fails. So since we all talk the same slang, stop killing my brother, cause we're all from the same gang.
Don't you know we got to put our heads together? Make the change, cause we're all in the same gang.
Now as a youth, I used to get my bang on, and on the app get my part-time slang on. This point in time for me was no joke though. They knew I was crazy, so they labeled me loco. Had these creeds gon' have feeling sporty, low riding and tossing up a 40, thinking in my mind that no one can handle us. The Dallas brothers never touched Los Angeles.
Being the pimps that we are, we're here to speak of a situation that has gone too far. Here at home in the ghettos of LA, where a young black girl is not promised to see the next day. Cause we used to coke on the streets before we made beef, but fools just lay and pray on the weed. It don't depend on the color of a rag, cause if you got what they want, you know they're gonna take what you have. Cause violence can only revolve from drugs and thugs and gangs that bang most times. It's a political thing. Yeah, a couple of spots to get popped, and if the government wants to fix it, they can all get stopped.
Ice-T, ripping the microphone the way I do. Listen close, my brothers, cause I'm talking to you. The problem is we got a suicidal lifestyle, cause 90% of us are living foul and wild. I say job, you say bad joke. I'd rather jack another brother watch the gun smoke. Living in the fast lane, flipping like you're insane. You won't stop until your blood runs down the street drain.
Don't you know we got to put our heads together? Stop the fight.
Make the change.
I'm from the era where it was a lot more conscious lyrics, a lot more substance. At that point, I think art was imitating the streets instead of the streets imitating art. We had a feel on what was going on in the neighborhood, and at that time, the conscious movement was big. There was a lot of things going on in the neighborhood where people was becoming socially aware, and just wanted to be conscious of what was going on, politically aware. I guess I'm from the era that's opposite of that. You know what I mean? But without no disrespect to any artist, there's a lot of degrading music out there, man. As far as degrading the culture and degrading society as well, man. But that's individuals that choose to make that kind of music. As the listeners, I think they should be a little more opinionated on what they're listening to and what they like, and a little more opinionated on what they're hearing. You know what I mean? And I think that'll help, all right, not only what's out there, but the artists make conscious decisions to make, music with a little more substance. Or
I just want to make that clear to you, sir. All right. Well, that's good to know, because, I think for a lot of us, I've always seen you on TV or on the screen, or I've even heard you, like audio recordings of you, and I've always been curious to what brought a man to this path, and all of us are with flaws, none of us are perfect. I've heard you say that, and so I think that's part of what makes you so relatable to this hip hop community. And when you're talking about someone like Snoop, who's a good friend of mine, and we pretty much know his history, and I just think it's amazing how you bring the best out of this culture, people who come from this culture, and this culture is what has influenced us the most, this generation in the past 30 or 40 years. What was that influenced you the most? Was it the word?
Yes,
yeah.
It was the word, but it's also when you know yourself, and you know that you are not perfect, it would be the height of hypocrisy for me as a spiritual teacher to look down on my brother or sister because of some fault that they had. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that we are the direct descendants of the Creator, and we are a part of the Creator's nation. So we are the righteous by nature, but wicked by circumstance. So when you grow up under a devil, and he's your foster father, then you can't claim to be holy. None of us have grown up under righteousness, though the Bible says we are born in sin and shaped in iniquity. We've come up under the most murderous people on our planet. We are the victims of kidnapping from Africa, rape, robbery, murder. Then to think that they took away from us our name, our language, our culture, our history, our religion, our God, and turned us inside out. So no matter how black you are a white man on the inside. What do I mean by that? Look at your actions. If you can rob each other and don't feel nothing, and you can kill one another and don't feel nothing, then your humanity has been taken from us by a wicked deceiver. It's not your sin, it's the sin of your enemy imposed on you. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that his teacher, Master Farrakhan Muhammad, said that we are other than ourselves. I mean, he was so sweet the way he said it. You are other than yourself. But what is yourself that you are other than? He said yourself is a righteous person by nature. But now we are not that. So, born in sin, what does that mean? Sex is not sin. It's divinely ordained. Otherwise, procreation would not have produced human beings for billions and trillions of years on our planet. It's the misuse of sex that is sin. So sin, according to Scripture, is transgression of the law and being shaped in iniquity is because we had an iniquitous teacher who shaped us. So you got 10 commandments, what thou shalt not do, everything that God said thou shalt not do, the enemy says it's okay. But then when you do it, you in prison. He's the biggest thief. You out here stealing little stuff. He steals countries. You can't compete with them. You kill a few. He's culling the earth of 2 to 3 billion people as a policy of the United States government. What can our little murder in the hood do to compete with a man who's killing people all over the earth? So much so that Zbigniew Brzezinski, the former, I think he was the national security advisor under, was it Clinton? Carter. He said there was a time when it was easier to control 1 million people than to kill 1 million people. But with the awakening of people all over the world because of a man called Steve Jobs and a man like Gates who gave us this tremendous thing called the iPhone and the iPad, you are in touch instantaneously with people all over the world. You can tap into libraries all over the world. There's nothing of knowledge that's not at our fingertips because of what that man did. So the media conglomerates are losing power over the masses that they've always controlled. Now, who cares? Because the young people are not looking at no TV. They hardly look at, listen to radio. Everybody's head is bent at a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, on the phone.
On the phone.
Yeah.
Well, now Zbigniew Brzezinski said it's easier to kill 1 million people than it is to control 1 million people. And I don't know whether you've heard this before, but I'm going to call names because, you know, if you know what you know, then say what you know and be willing to pay the price, because there is a price for telling truth to power and waking up the masses of people who've been put to sleep by this elite that control. Imagine every time you get on the phone, they're listening. Imagine every time you send an email, they got it. So if you mad with somebody, well, I hate that so-and-so, he did such and such. Oh, really? They got it. And if they want to create mischief between you and your party, they'll get in between you, and before you know it, you're fighting each other. Well, imagine that a man has that kind of reach, that he can listen into your phone, gather all information about you, so he knows when he sifts you what your weaknesses are and what your strengths are. This man, Elijah Muhammad, called him a universal snooper. So he's always trying to find something negative about you. And he'll wait until the right moment and he'll throw it on TV or tell you what you did that you didn't want nobody to know. But his day is here now. We got him. We know his history from the time he was a thought. We know what he was made of, how he was made, and the nature of him, and we know the way he thinks, and we know who made him like that. So we're in a position now to lock him up, because when a liar can't lie no more to deceive you, he's finished. When a trickster can't trick you no more because you know the way he plays his game, then his game is over. So the enemy's game is up. White supremacy is finished. The black man is rising. Humanity is rising. His day to rule us with tricks and lies is over if we wake up and realize that we've been tricked. As Malcolm said, we've been hoodwinked. We've been bamboozled. It's time to wake up.
It's time to wake up. You know, when I listen to you speak and you talk about white supremacy being on its way out, and I look at the Nation of Islam and how it's expanded its reach. You know, it's not just about the black man's plight in America anymore, correct? Like,
no.
Like anybody can join the nation.
It's about our plight all over the world.
Okay.
But in truth, my brother, the Nation of Islam was started just for black people.
Yeah.
And we started like Jesus. When Jesus started teaching, he told his followers, "Go ye not in the way of the Gentiles, or in the way of the Samaritans. Go ye to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Ain't nobody on this earth more lost than the black man and woman of America and the Western Hemisphere and our people in Africa who have lived under colonialism while we have lived under slavery and colonialism in the Caribbean, and a neo-colonialism, which is to rob you of the power of your mind to keep you like a top spinning. So if we were really awake, we would be unified. You and I are brothers, cut from the same cloth. We're not only brothers because of color, we're brothers because our origin is God Himself. So now the enemy has put us like dry bones in the valley. We're all separated, disconnected. But today is our day to rise. It's our day to come together in unity and power to stop the tyranny of our oppression. But I want to finish that question, because now Jesus said, "Go ye into all the world and preach this gospel to every nation, kindred, and tongue." Well, that's what we're doing now. And October 10, 15, which is the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, our talk that day will be in French and Spanish and Arabic and Chinese, because we're reaching for the whole world, because everywhere you look in the world, people are rising against injustice. I hope I get a chance in this broadcast to talk about Henry Kissinger and his memo to government that became a policy. Do I have time?
You have time. Can we come back to it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you have all the time that you allot to me. So it's as much time as you're willing to give me.
Thank you, brother.
I want to bring it back domestically, because just listen to you speaking about how divided we are, and messaging that you're giving to artists like Snoop and Jay Electronica, and I'm sure Kanye and Jay-Z and, Lil Herb and Louis and Ice Cube and Suge and, all the different people you've spoken to. It's hard, I'm on a radio platform every day, I'm on television, and it's hard trying to sneak truth in, and get folks to reflect on our reality. It's a challenge, You have artists like Kendrick Lamar who would make a statement in a song like The Blacker the Berry, where he says, "Why would I weep with Trayvon Martin is laying in the street when gangbanging has me killing people who are blacker than me? Hypocrite." And that's how his song ends. And then he would receive a lot of backlash, and people would say that's respectability politics. What is your argument to that? I mean, that's one of the things I've said.
You can't ever argue with truth. Then you make yourself a fool. You might not like what he said, but the reality is we march every time a white man kills a black person. They've been doing that ever since we came to these shores. But what hurts is when we can smoke each other over nothing and then go back and feel like we did something good. We've become cold and heartless and naked of moral value when you can put your girls out, because now you can't sling the dope like you used to sling it. So now you take these young girls and make them prostitutes. I was in the hood, man, and as I go and talk to our brothers who are in certain conditions, certain sisters would come to me and beg me to get them out of the condition that they're in, because our brothers have them prostituting themselves. And then one young girl, when I was out in the hood, some of the sisters said, "Don't you want to go over and get his autograph or shake his hand?" She said, "No, I just want to be his B."
About you?
Yeah.
Okay.
She wanted to be a female dog for me, as though that's something glorious. See, this is ignorance on steroids. So our people need to be fixed. The problem is we can't go to Washington to charge the government and then turn a blind eye to what we are doing to one another. And that means, as I've been saying, the war that we are fighting has to be on two fronts. We can't go to Washington and say, you all ain't treating us right, which they're not, and then deny that we're not treating each other right. So Rudolph Giuliani, you know, I didn't like certain words that he said, so, you know, I called him a privilege, you know.
He said that the president didn't love America.
Yeah,
and you came to the president's defense.
Yes, because that's the president's problem. He loves America so much that he will not act in a way to correct the wrong that's sending America to hell. What kind of man should I be if I see my country corrupt and rotten? Even when he tried to correct the wickedness of George W. Bush when he first became president, they beat him up so bad that he was over there apologizing for us. He was trying to tell the world America has made mistakes. And who will deny that you've been a liar and a thief? Well, he won't say it like I say it. He'll be diplomatic. But I'm too damn old to want to be diplomatic. Liars and thieves are what they are. That's what they've done all over the world. He knows it. And for him to be a modern Pharaoh. See, when you run for the presidency of the United States, you're running for the position of the CEO of the United States of America, which is the modern Egypt, the modern Rome. So he's the modern Pharaoh. So even if he wants to do good, he can't. Look at all the drones he's sending all over the world. And violence can't accomplish anything the minute we rise up in the hood because of the evil that is perpetrated against us. All they want to know is this going to be peaceful? They got a hell of a nerve asking us, is it going to be peaceful, when everything they've gotten all over the world is through violence, through bloodshed, through war. No, these are hypocrites, and I like to call them out.
Let me ask you this. I know in the case of Ferguson, what happened to Ferguson, you called out to the president and Attorney General Eric Holder and said you have to stop these wicked folks from killing our black and brown youth because this won't hold no more. How would you propose that they do it? Is it a policy, or what type of infrastructure could they create to how can they reverse that wickedness? If you were president, how would you do it? Wouldn't that be great?
I wouldn't want to be president of this. This is why God has come to take this out. This is an evil world that we're living in. This is not the world that Jesus was calling us toward. He said, my kingdom is not of this world. And in the book of James, it said the love of this world is enmity or hatred with God. Then Jesus said, you can't love or serve two masters. You got to love one and hate the other. Hate is not bad if you hate what God hates. But the sad thing is if you hate what God loves. And Jesus was hated without a cause. That's why it's difficult for people to walk with Farrakhan. They say, yeah, I like him a lot, but bring him around the back door at midnight because I might lose my job if I associate with Farrakhan. I don't have AIDS. I'm not a diseased man, but what I do have is knowledge, truth, that will make you stand up like a man and like a woman. And as long as you lay down, do you have children, brother?
I have a 16-year-old daughter.
May God bless you and bless her.
Thank you.
What kind of world is she growing up in? What kind of man would you want to marry your daughter? When you come out of the streets, you don't have no desire to do nothing but hustle women who are making money. What kind of man will our young girls have when they are in college and our brothers are in the street? See, this is social engineering now that's being done by those in high places. And that's why Paul said, we war not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and the rulers of the darkness of this world and spiritual wickedness in high places. This is what is going on now. Little white people are not doing the things to us that cause us to be in the condition. This comes from way up. Can I give you an example?
Please do.
When I was a little boy, growing up in Boston, Massachusetts, there were factories in the inner cities all over America where unskilled labor could have a job in a factory. I don't care what kind of money they made, they brought that home and they could take care of their wives and their children. And every morning I would see a black man leaving his home with his lunch pail going to work. 40 years ago, I was overseas, and when I came back, I read in the paper that the social scientists and others were saying there's no need to invest in the inner cities because the inner cities are about to explode. So instead of people bringing money into the inner cities, the money was taken out, the factories closed, and unskilled labor had no job. So if we were not entrepreneurial to set up something that we could do to earn a dollar to feed our family, now the social engineering starts taking place. You break down the family, because after that, the mothers that were on welfare, fathers, she had to lie and say there was no man living in the house so she could collect her check while the man had no job. And so she was on welfare, or she went to school and got a job. Black women can get jobs today where a black man can't get a job. You could be very talented, very brilliant, just come out of Harvard or Howard, and you can't get a job, but your woman got the job. So when your woman got more money than you, her voice is not female a lot of times. Because now you can't pay the bills because you got no money. So when you don't have any money that a man should have to feed his family and take care of his children, then the woman becomes the breadwinner and you living there not making no bread. So what are you good for? They don't need you for sex. They buy machines for that. Or you turn out on the down low. Because the woman is so strong, she make you look like a punk before you become one. Excuse me, but that's real. That's real. Social engineering. Then here comes Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan wants to fight the communists in Central America. He comes to Congress, Congress won't give him the money. He goes to King Fahd of Arabia, he gives him 10 million. That's not enough. So enter the CIA and the drug trade. Drugs coming from Central and South America into California, where crack cocaine now becomes the craze. In the meantime, back in Washington, while we were having the Million Man March 20 years ago, they were in Congress setting the limits on powdered cocaine as opposed to crack cocaine. So now they snatch our brothers and sisters up. We in jail with a felony. Now check how these enemies have worked us. We go into prison, then we got a job in prison. Some of us working for IBM, some of us working for Motorola, some of us working for these high-tech places, learning how to do things in prison, but when you get out, you're a felon now. You can't even use what you learned in prison, so you end right back up in prison, and the 13th Amendment is in full force. Once you are a criminal, you become a slave again. That's what this thing is all about. So now the drugs are in the community. Rick Ross, bless his heart, he said, I didn't know that I was working for the government, that the government was the one supplying me with the drugs. He said, I was making $1 million a day. Well, wouldn't that make you feel pretty good if you were making $1 million a day? Frank Lucas, he was on the heroin tip.
Yeah.
And he was bringing in what? Pure heroin. How many people were dying? The moment you and I start becoming conscious, in the 60s, Frank Lucas was bringing in heroin. In the 80s, Rick Ross bringing in crack cocaine. And now the gang warfare, the Crips, the Bloods, then it spreads from the West Coast to the East Coast. And who's filling the jails? It's you and me.